I guess they don't want to win. I guess they decided we don't want to have a good team this year. We want to bottom out as best we can. We don't want to spend the money. We want to get rid of all our bad contracts. And we think we did it. We have the best farm system. We are ready to start over with the great three guys they brought up, Christian Campbell, Roman Anthony, and Marcelo Mayer. It's hard to argue with that philosophy, except you just traded a guy who's, when Clayton Kershaw heard this on the air, right after it was traded, he said he's easily one of the top 10 hitters in all of baseball. He also started the year horrifically. Do you remember how bad his April was, RAFAEL DeVers? We did a segment back.
Didn't he go 0 for like 20 something?
Yeah, with like
one
13
stretch?
strikeouts to start the season. The fact that his numbers are now 272 with a 905 OPS, that tells you just how good he's been since May 1st. You can argue he's a top 5 hitter in all of baseball since May 1st. He's been that good. In fact, he destroyed the Yankees again, like he always does. He's one of those Yankee killers, like David Ortiz generations ago. Every time this guy got up, you knew that he was going to have something for even our best pitchers. That's who Devers was. Garrett Cole, I'm sure, is happy, even though he's not pitching this year, doesn't have to see him anymore, or at least more than every once in a while. Garrett Cole, I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I don't think he did very well against Devers. My memory is a little, I seem to just remember it being really bad. This is a fascinating trade. I don't know if I've ever seen this happen. Joba, when was the last time that you have seen anything like this happen from a team that just swept the first place team?
I honestly had no idea, and shout out to my guy Jared Carabas. Follow him on Jared_Carabas on X, Twitter, and his podcast. And he's a Red Sox guy, and you know I try to go to the source when I can, and he even didn't have any idea. And I don't know the time that I seen it. I don't know if there was something internally that was going on.
It had to be. There were no other rumors.
Yeah, and we didn't hear anything, and it was like, oh, okay, they kind of got through it. When they signed Bregman, we obviously talked about that and kind of how that went. But we hadn't really heard anything about it, and then obviously he made the turn, and, you know, as Kyle stated in our chat, he was 0 for 19 with 15 Ks. Like, that's an awful start.
As bad as you can start.
In an awful stretch. And so, you know, I'm just asking guys that know, because we hadn't heard anything. And if we hear something, we're obviously going to talk about it and understand, you know, kind of where they're coming from. But this after a sweep, and still obviously, you know, people are panicking, but they're still 42-29. Like, let's just be honest. But for it to happen in this way, what really says it, and you said it, Fish, is the fact that they're like, you know what? We got rid of the entire contract. And I think that tells us something. I don't know what that is, but they definitely told us something there. And is that Craig Breslow and what they were doing in the front office, either trying to get rid of it or saying, like, our farm system is good enough to where we can replace these guys? I think there's a little bit telling factors in kind of pieces, not necessarily the whole tale of it. But I think it comes down to the lingering effect that I think this all had from the start, right? When Bregman came in and did that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And it really will be. And see what happens.
Speedy, I got the analytics for you that I wanted you to focus on as we go through this.
Yeah.
I read something that Devers' like contract value is like like if there was like there's a specific measurement where they said that his contract's so bad it's like he's worth negative $40 million to his team. Why are people saying this about Devers when we see the offense is really there?
And especially when Clayton comes out and says he's one of and you got to put respect on Clayton's name for what he's done, right?
You would think a Hall of Fame left-handed pitcher would know who the good left-handed hitters are.
Yeah, and he's one of the better pure hitters for a lefty, too, at least at the beginning of his career. So maybe those strikeout numbers, I guess, got that number down. I was thinking, yeah, okay, there's going to be a negative. I would never have thought negative $40 million like that. I would maybe 20, 15, but not.
Well, it's a massive contract.
This wouldn't be such a big conversation if it was closer to the deadline, right?
Here's what I remember growing up at Joba, and we're the same age, so you remember this guy, too. There was a guy on Seattle that didn't play the field after starting his career as third baseman. And I remember him recently getting into the Hall of Fame as a DH named Edgar Martinez. Now, I'm not saying Rafael Devers is the hitter of Edgar Martinez, but if you're trying to get a left-handed power hitter into a lineup that doesn't really have a dude in it, because let's face it, that Giants lineup, if it was missing something, it was missing a centerpiece. It was missing a dude. Now, wouldn't play first base. Maybe he'll play first base for the Giants. He'll play third right now because Chapman had a weird injury to his hand. Chapman sprained 3 of the fingers in his hand. He's going to be out a little bit. So he'll play some third. But once they come back, those are, Chapman and Bregman were they both Gold Glove winners last year? Right? He's going to have to either become just a full-time DH or learn how to play first base. And I think that probably is what he'll do next year. And he can always back up at third. I mean, even Vlad Guerrero Jr. started out playing third base too. We know that. Guys that are a little bit bigger in size, they gravitate to first as they get into their 30s. It's just a natural thing. You don't want guys getting hurt all that much. There aren't that many big dudes that play, that level, for a long time. I guess Machado getting into his 30s right now, still playing great defense out there. One of the best I'd ever seen. Yeah. Third base. A-Rod's another one that comes to mind, playing really good defense at third later in his career. So the bigger guys, you like a Devers, you want to try to see them protect themselves and just hit because he's had a bad shoulder. They said that at the start of the season his shoulder was messed up, and it's not surprising. And at the end of the last year, it wasn't. And then they didn't really fix it well enough, and he was kind of weak on the bat late last year. And he's good now. What are they saying? Are they saying in Boston that the schedule doesn't line up with having Devers and these 3 young kids, Roman Anthony, that was the top prospect in all of baseball coming into the season, not named Roki Sasaki, who, by the way, it doesn't look like we're going to see Roki Sasaki again this season. They just said that they had to shut him down again. Look, I traded for him in fantasy. I wanted to just, as a shot in the dark, maybe that guy can just come back and be like a shot in the arm for the playoff run. You never know. He still might be, but probably not. You've got 3 guys. Roman Anthony, top prospect. Mayer was the top prospect a couple of years ago. Yep. And, kind of slid down a little bit. Not exactly consistent hitting lefties right now. So he's platooning while he's up, playing third base while Bregman's out. He'll probably move over to short. They're going to have to figure out what to do with Trevor Story. But I would imagine the story with Story is going to be similar to Devers. They're going to move his ass out. Joba, are they just getting rid of the vets right now?
It's sometimes you get aged out. And I think now when you're starting to bring these, and I think Craig is probably trying to bring a different, maybe perspective to the front office and kind of what he's doing with contracts and how, now you're going to have control of these young kids and try to develop, and you're not going to have to pay them unless you pay them early. It may be a little bit of that, but that also tells me too, and it makes me think, are you really trying to win right now? Because I'm not saying young energy doesn't bring championships, but when you have a top caliber like that and you get rid of him and you don't really get much of anything back other than getting rid of your payroll.
Salary dump.
Yeah, and obviously with Jordan Hicks, it's when he was with the Cardinals, and it's kind of the conversation everybody had about me. It's like, should have left him there, but he wanted to be a starter. They did that, kind of understand his circumstances. But really, when you're getting rid of a guy of that caliber and you don't really get a lot for it, it makes it feel like it's a salary dump to be like, okay, now we've got these young guys, even though Tristan's hurt, but you still got control of him too. So it's not like you're paying him either. So I think this is weird. And when I talk to a Red Sox guy, which, it's hard to reach out as a Yankee to a Red Sox guy, but if I don't know the answer, I'm going to try and find the right answer. And I messaged some other people too. It was kind of off the grid because if it was closer to deadline, you could kind of understand a little bit more of how it makes sense. But now to not get a lot in return and basically just make it look like a salary dump, then it's like, okay, are you trying to win now or are you trying to rebuild? So what are you doing?
We talk about Craig Breslow, Speedy, and former player, now in the front office. We were given a lot of congratulations earlier this year. But we keep hearing, the Red Sox don't play very good fundamental baseball. They're not.
Which was an issue last year, too.
That maybe things aren't all good on the farm. And we see Campbell coming up. He had a good first 3 weeks of the season, and he has struggled the rest of the way. And they were talking about maybe he'll play some first when Devers said no. He's going to stay at second. Mayer, again, they're platooning him. They don't even want him to see lefties right now because Toro's been playing well. He's one of those guys that's a great
Yeah, he was pretty
platoon
good in
guy.
Seattle the year they made the playoffs, Toro.
Toro, look, he's one of those players that if you had to play him, 500 at bats, you're not going to like what you see. But
No.
if you can get 350 of him on one side of the plate, you're probably going to like what you see out of him, right? But then you play him with Mayer, so that's fine. So that's your decision. You still have Trevor Story for now. I guarantee you he's gone. And it's a team that has a good foundation. If they had Devers, maybe they would be a playoff team.